Welcome to an episode of the podcast Art Insiders New York. My name is Anders Holst. The theme of the podcast is New York, with a focus on behind-the-scenes conversations with fascinating people who are making an impact in the world of art, design and architecture. This episode takes place in the beautiful New York headquarters of ARTNET in the historic Woolworth Building, at one point the tallest building in Manhattan with an astonishing 360-degree view of Lower Manhattan. It is from here that the CEO Jacob Pabst ruled his online art auction empire, based on more than 10 million auction results spanning over 30 years, servicing 2.1 million monthly users and some 1,700 auction houses and 320,000 artists. ARTNET is a hybrid between a tech company and an art company, in other words. There's a lot to talk about, and we're grateful that Jacob has taken the time to meet with us today. So very welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So why don't we start with the surroundings? So how did you end up here?
Well, we've always been in downtown Manhattan. Originally, we've been on Broadway, close to Wall Street, and it took me about a year to find this space. And I probably looked at around 100 different office spaces in my search, yeah. So it was quite tiring. But all the way in the end, I found this Woolworth building, and in the beginning, immediately, of course, you saw how beautiful the building is, and it's such an historical building, but the offices themselves look quite corporate. You know, they had very high walls everywhere and low ceilings and cubicles everywhere, so there's no sunlight coming in and, no open space. So we really took a lot of time to renovate the space and restore it to the original way, the way it used to be.
So you basically got rid of all the walls, because it's a very open office. As you walk around here, you see Manhattan at your feet, more or less.
Yeah, that's what we liked. We liked the openness and a lot of light, and back in the day they really built in a very gracious way their office spaces, and the high ceilings are fantastic and very beautiful, and so we essentially rebuilt it to how it was in the beginning. Wow. We looked at old original floor plans, and we restored the original concrete floors, and brought back the original elevator doors and even the mail shafts.
Yeah.
So
I was here at an event. It must have been 2 years ago. It was a session about art forgery. It was a person who had written a book about the subject, and we had a very nice lecture in here. And I remember it was like a train car coming through the floor, and someone said, "No, that's the elevator."
Yeah.
And was that the old elevator, or do they make that kind of a noise?
No, they do make that kind of noise. They are old. It's an old building, and the elevators are small, and you have to wait a long time if you want to get anywhere. But that's the charm of the building too. And what you heard probably during that time were the other elevators that we can't access from our floor, but that access different floors.
I see.
And sometimes you hear them. We had the option to really close them off and shut them, and by that get rid of the noise. But we thought it's part of the charm of the building to really see the old traditional elevator shafts.
Absolutely. So the people who are here, what do they do?
All sorts of things. New York is our headquarters. The company was founded in New York some 26 years ago. And actually, in the beginning, the company started in a small apartment on the Upper East Side.
Yeah.
And then we moved offices, and, we were at pretty much the Upper East Side the entire time, at 57th Street and Madison Avenue. Then later we moved down to Wall Street, and now we're here. And the people that are working here, they really work for all our different products, and it's either client service, marketing, sales, technology. We have a large technology team. At heart, we're really a technology company, because everything we do is online.
Yeah.
And our auction specialists are here, our news department, all the journalists and the editors and the editor-in-chief. So it's really everything you can see online, and all our products are run out of New York.
I see. And so the DNA, I was curious about that, the DNA of this company. So is it a tech company in art clothing, or is it an art company in tech clothing? You hinted that it's more of a tech company at the core.
I think so, yes, because everything we really do is online and is based on technology, and the entire reason why ARTNET exists is because of technology. You know, in 1989, when the founders saw the opportunities that the internet brings with it, and the opportunities the internet has or brings to the art market, you know, that's when ARTNET was born. You know, and how technology can really help improve the way the art market works. That's the basic idea of ARTNET, and that's why I think technology is essential.
So, and that is the basis of your, in the beginning. So can you tell me a little bit about the structure of the company? So you're here, headquarters here in New York, but you're also in Germany. You're on the Frankfurt Stock Exchange, if I am correctly informed.
Yes, we are now, even though the company was started in the US, in New York, we are now a German company, and that's because we went public at the German Stock Exchange in 1999. During the Neuer Markt, the new economy phase. And but our headquarters is in New York. All operations is run out of the New York office. We have around 120 people. All our products are run. The management sits in New York. But we do have an office in Berlin with around 20 employees, and we do have an office in London with around 15 employees.
So how would you describe what you do in terms of services? I mean, there's a lot of things here, and I think the core of it is the incredible database that you're sitting on. I mean, you've been following this market for some 30 years, right? And that database gives you a lot of different opportunities. Could you explain a little bit to our listeners what is that you offer to people?
Sure, I would love to. Yes, it all started with the database, and you have to understand that when ARTNET was founded, there was essentially no easy way to get price information about an artist or an artwork that you're interested in. So what ARTNET did is it went to all the thousands of auction houses around the world and collected the sale information after the sale has happened, so the auction sales information. And out of it was born the ARTNET price database. And it took us a long time to really establish that product because, you know, all of a sudden, anyone interested in art had a very easy and way to access that price information. Yeah, so the ARTNET price database really brought price transparency to the art market. Now you had at your fingertips all this price information from all the auction results all around the world, and transparency is really what is needed in order for a market to function and to grow. And in the beginning, there was a lot of resistance from a lot of the established players in the art market, because they sort of thought that you know, a lot of control was taken away from them. But a market can really only grow if it's transparent and if there is enough information, and that's what we did. Today, the ARTNET price database is the gold standard in the industry. Everyone interested in finding out, you know, the value of a particular artwork, or you know, looking for trends, you know, in the art market, is going to the ARTNET price database.
I see. That's very interesting too, because you would imagine that people in front of a computer could sort of get a sense of that information by Googling, but this is much more complicated than that. This is like following prices over time, particular artists, particular genres of art and stuff like that. So it's a very detailed information, I understand.
Yes, we collected this price information or this sales information from all major auction houses around the world. I think, if I'm not mistaken, today we cover over 1,700 auction houses around the world. We are, you know, cover all the major markets: the US, Europe, China, South America, and it's not really easy to obtain that information any other way, because you know, we really, after the auction sales, you know, happen, we access that data, and we check it for quality, and we have a very large team of specialists who make sure that the quality of the data is really accurate and that it's all uniform across all our other auction houses.
Yeah.
And a lot of work goes into that, and that's what really makes it very valuable.
I understand. So this company is fascinating because you do so many different things. You provide an infrastructure to other players, basically auction houses and the galleries. So is there a conflict here somewhere that the auction houses will see you as a competitor or the galleries would see you as a competitor? How does that work?
In the beginning, it was actually not very easy when we launched the ARTNET price database.
Yeah.
Because the auction houses and didn't like the fact that we took their data and made it publicly available to everyone.
Yeah.
But over time, they really became our biggest partners and our biggest supporters, because they themselves now all use the database.
Yeah.
And and to access price information and to find out about the latest trends in the art market. Same for the galleries. The galleries also initially didn't really like the fact that their clients all of a sudden had this very powerful tool at their fingertips that allowed them to really establish the value of a certain artwork or an artist, and tell the dealer, listen, I'm sorry, I know that you would like to have $100,000 for this artwork, but we looked at the ARTNET price database, and looking at the auction results, we shouldn't really pay more than $75,000. Wow. But a market, like I said, can really only grow if it's transparent.
Yeah.
And, it takes down a lot of hurdles if you have all the information necessary, in order to feel comfortable buying such an expensive piece of art.
Yeah.
And that really helped the market overall grow a lot. And since then, since we launched the product, the art market has grown tremendously. And many more people that before that were maybe hesitant now, because there's so much information available on the internet, and because of us, they entered the market and they're buying, and so everyone profits from it.
So it's very interesting. You say transparency is the center for, is the sort of the core part for growth in the market, because it helps people to make transactions. And of course, the lack of transparency maybe have been very profitable for some galleries in the past, but those days are over then.
Well, they're much more profitable now, because the most of them. I mean, it's a complicated market. There are other challenges now.
Yeah.
But from that point of view, I think there are many more buyers now buying art, because they're well informed.
Yeah.
And they can make a well informed buying decision, and that's what the market needed, and that's what we gave them, and that's why. The tool is very powerful, and it's the gold standard in the industry today.
Yeah.
And all the galleries are also, by the way, our clients as well, and they use it as well.
Yeah, I can tell you, First Dibs uses your tool.
Yeah, First Dibs too, yeah.
You already knew that, of course.
Sure, and that's for the price database.
Yeah.
There are other conflicts in our business model potentially with our other products, but maybe we want to talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah, I was thinking of one aspect. I think I read somewhere that the editorial part of your operation is separated from the auction part of the operation, as to not create any conflicts of interest. Is that did I understand that correctly?
Yes, well, 100%. It's very, very important that the editorial platform is very independent from the rest of the business, and there is no real influence from the business over the editorial component of the business. And yeah.
So I've seen on your website you have many interesting online auctions. Can you describe for us a little bit how do you work with galleries and auction houses to design your auctions online? I mean, is there like a committee, or is it like a group of people who come up with different ideas? How does that work? Basically, you're curating online auctions, right?
Yeah, we created a 24/7 online marketplace where people can transact. Many people don't want to wait so long, to sell something and get their money, and that's why it's really I think, the future of the art market. Online transactions are the future of the art market. And that's what we're doing. We have a fairly large team of in-house specialists who vet every consignment that comes to the site. And and we have auctions all the time.
Yeah.
And that's one of the greatest advantages. So speed and cost are what makes this so attractive. And this is really what we're working on today. Back in the day, we brought transparency to the art market. Now we think that the art market is really one of the last markets that really hasn't completely embraced online.
I see.
And online transactions is really the next logical step in the evolution of the art market, and that's what we're working towards.
How would you describe the art market? I saw some data that you have 8.4% of the market is online. How do you look at the market, if you would describe it to someone?
Yeah, that's a complex question.
Yeah.
If I would like to answer this in our conversation today, the only thing I would really want to say is, there's not really, in my mind, one art market. There are many different art markets. There's the contemporary art market, there's the US market, the Chinese market, and the Impressionist market, and so it's there are so many different markets, and they all have different developments going on, and so it's really difficult to speak about one.
So $50 billion, would that be a good number?
Yeah.
I'm thinking
for us, you mean?
No, I'm thinking.
Sure.
I'm thinking about the data that I saw that online was 8.4%, something like 4.25 billion or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe these numbers doesn't really mean anything.
No, you read the right number, and but it's really difficult to come up with a number because most data is not really public.
Yeah.
And so this is a best guess, I would say.
Yeah.
But what I can tell you for sure is that the online art market is growing, and it's growing tremendously.
Yeah.
And it's very exciting to be part of this development.
So you are the market leader, if I understand this correctly. You have Artsy and Paddle 8 and a few other competitors, but you are the gold standard, as you said before, the price indicator. So it's very hard for someone to compete with you because every day you're ahead of this. You're ahead of the group because you are collecting all the data, and they are sort of trying to follow you in this endeavor. But you're ahead, so you create barriers to entry basically through the very nature of your business.
Yeah, well, we try to. That we have competition, obviously, and we have. ARTNET is not one business really.
Yeah.
It's many different businesses, and for many of our segments, the market looks a little bit different, and the competition looks a little bit different.
Yeah.
It's not that we don't have competition, obviously. For the price database, yes, I think we are the gold standard. We have the highest quality database, and that's because we put so much effort really into quality assurance and making sure. First of all, that the data is complete, that it's up in a very timely manner, meaning it's up immediately after the sale, and then to make sure that there are no errors and so on. We are really right now, I think, the leading art news platform. We publish around 20 articles every day, and that's very powerful, and it brings our clients to the site every day. We're really the go-to newswire for the art market, and I'm very proud of this because this is a really new concept, and we launched the product at the beginning of 2014, and within 3 months, we had our first advertising clients, and we more than doubled our traffic because of this, and then we have the transaction platform. We had strong competition in Paddle 8, and the traditional players are also doing auctions, online auctions.
And they are increasing. Their sort of online share is increasing, both Christie's and Sotheby's. I read some in those.
Yeah, but their main focus is really on the traditional business and the high-end auction market.
Yeah.
So speaking about conflicts, which, and like we did in the beginning of the conversation, I mean, the auction houses are our biggest clients. We don't really see them as competition. They all subscribe to our database. And same for the galleries, the auctions for our transaction platform, the auctions, we call it auctions, but it's really a marketplace, an online marketplace. Yeah. The galleries are really our number one clients. They are the number one sellers and buyers on our auctions platform. So it's really a tool for them, to sell and to buy. And, they can use our reach and our client base, to actively sell. Yeah. So we don't see ourselves as competition. And I don't think that, some people say the galleries at some point, they will not exist anymore, will be all online. Yeah. I think that's complete nonsense, We are there to support the galleries, and, they are our biggest clients, and, I'm their biggest fans, and, they will always exist, and, and they're the ones discovering the artists, they're the ones, the artists, they're the ones promoting the artists, they're the ones making the exhibitions, and and that will always exist, and we're there to support.
I think it's fascinating that you, as a tech company, has sort of almost integrated, the art world. So, what is the bread and butter for online buying art online? If you say that Sotheby's and Christie's are more the high end.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Our average price. At this point, across all categories, so I'm talking about photography and prints and the post-modern contemporary category, is at around $14,000 currently. Mm-hmm. The most expensive item we ever sold was an Andy Warhol for roughly 1.4 million US dollars. Mm-hmm. It was sold from a German collector to a US collector, through ARTNET auctions. Wow! But that's the highest price item that we ever sold.
I see.
So I think our sweet spot is probably somewhere between 10 and 50,000, and we want to be somewhere between 10 and 100,000 US dollar. Mm-hmm. And and that's what we do all the time. I mean, we regularly sell works in the $100,000 range, and it's different from category to category. Obviously, for paintings, it's higher. That's where we see ourselves. And
you said growth is one important trend through this transparency. What other trends do you see in the business that you run on a day-to-day basis? What are tastes? Are people more interested in photography? Are people more interested in outside art? Are people more interested? Is there possible to say anything? This is up and this is down and this is sort of flat.
Sure. I mean, if I had the opportunity right now to look at our database, I could tell you very precisely what the latest trends are. Yeah. But unfortunately, I don't have that data in front of me, so I have to be very general, on what I respond to you. Yeah. But I could say that there are many interesting trends. Obviously, the contemporary market is exploding. Yeah. We have seen a real explosion over the last decade in the contemporary market, and I don't see an end to this. We are focusing also mainly on contemporary art at this point, secondary market art. Yeah. I would also like to say that it's quite interesting, or not quite, but very interesting what's going on in the Chinese art market. Yeah. The Chinese art market has seen tremendous growth, and then also some decline. Some market corrections over the last couple of years. And the Chinese art market is also now looking more and more to the Western art market. And, you can see this at Art Basel. When I went to the first Art Basel in Hong Kong, you could, most of the galleries really had their traditional Chinese contemporary program.
Yeah.
And today, all the galleries bring their Western artists, and there's a huge demand for Western art. It's really waking up, the Chinese art market. I mean, not waking up; it's already woken up, but it's amazing what's happening there.
So there will be an ARTNET office in Beijing soon.
Yeah, we do. We have people on the ground. We have people here. The Chinese art market is very important for us. Most of what we do is online, and we're true to our nature here again. We use WeChat. We have built out our WeChat platform, and it has grown significantly. And I'm quite proud of my China department. They have done an amazing job in increasing our audience, and a lot of our buyers, for the auctions platform actually come from China now.
Mm-hmm.
We do a lot of Asian contemporary sales also.
Yeah.
So that's a big category. And one of the last developments that I would like to mention is urban art. There's an increasing demand for contemporary street art.
Yeah.
And we have just now had a number of sales from an artist called Richard Hambleton, and prices are exploding. We have had a number of record sales results for him, and it's really interesting how urban art is working so well for online, and that's one nice development I would like to mention.
That is wonderful, because I have some artist friends, and they complain about that the art market has been corporatized. You have to have a marketing people, you have to have your PR people, you have to have financial resources to do an exhibition, for instance. On the other side of the spectrum, as you mentioned, maybe internet or online also provides new artists to come out and have exposure at a much lower cost. So I think that's a very promising trend, actually. That you.
It's a very, very good point,
yeah.
And that's a very, very good point. And yes, absolutely. I think the internet is a great way to reach a broad audience at fairly low cost. Particularly interesting for a lot of the artists that maybe are not so or as popular as the big brand artists right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we can give them the audience, and we can give them the attention they deserve. For some of the traditional players in the market, it's just too risky and too expensive to focus on these artists.
I see. Yeah.
Because they are they have to really make sure that the sell-through rate is there and that they really sell.
Exactly.
And so it's a really big opportunity for a lot of great artists that for no particular reason don't get the same attention.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned in an Observer article in 2017 that online is to sell art online is 18% sales cost compared to 45% in the brick and mortar. Does that hold true still today? That it's such a big discrepancies if you sell something through Sotheby's and Christie's traditional auctions as opposed to online?
Well, yeah, I mean those numbers are extreme, because of the high cost that these auction houses are faced with.
Yeah.
They have to transport the item, they have to insure it, they have to store it. They make expensive exhibitions, and so on. So they're very high costs, and someone has to pay for it. So the average transaction fees, buyers and sellers premium combined, is much higher in that field than with online. We're not faced with the same cost, and that's why we can be much cheaper and much faster.
Yeah, I saw somewhere in here that 79% of buyers under 35 years old use Instagram as a major source to discover new artists. I found that to be extremely interesting. Do you agree with that? Do you think that is true? Is that a correct assessment?
Yeah, I mean, Instagram is is really a fantastic tool and has seen such an amazing development. And I totally believe those numbers. And and we are very much focused on Instagram, but also WeChat. Don't underestimate WeChat. Everyone in China is on WeChat, and it's really the number one platform and very, very powerful. And and many of our sales are discovered through those social media channels.
I see.
And they bring a lot of buyers and sellers to ARTNET.
Okay. I learned about the concept of blockchain when I did research about the art market and the online art market. Now, is that something that you see as a major threat, or is this something that you are actually working on already today? Because it will affect the business, the art business to some extent, correct?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the blockchain brings with it a number of great opportunities and advantages that, of course, you know, we're looking at very, very carefully and in much detail. I absolutely don't see it as a threat. I see it as a great opportunity, and we're working on it, and you know, we're looking at ways to integrate it into our product and you know, and make the overall ARTNET experience even better.
I see. Now, you've been in this position since 2012. How has your job changed over these years? I mean, when you first came here, and was there a certain set of issues you worked with, and now there's another set of issues that you work with? How has it changed your work?
You mean the work itself, or how have I changed?
No, the work. We'll come to that. The work itself. I mean, how has that changed over time?
That's a good question. I've actually never thought about this so much. I think that, of course, you know, there are many things that have stayed the same, and that will stay the same. And, you know, my main focus and the things that I have to prioritize or want to prioritize in my work, they stay the same. But, you know, throughout the years, you know, there have been different opportunities and or challenges and problems that, you know, I was faced with. So it's a combination of both. I mean, there are many things that remain the same, but, you know, obviously new challenges and opportunities.
So are we entering into a phase of consolidation now, where there will be mergers between companies, or do you think it will still sort of move along and there will be, you know, new players coming in?
You mean the art market? And
yeah, the online art market.
I think that the online art market. I think there. You know, it's really been a quite remarkable time. You know, there've been, you know, I think somewhere around 600 million or so in venture capital raised over the last couple of years. And, you know, so there's, you know, there are lots of opportunities, and you know, many people realize that, you know, the art market or big portions of the art market are moving online, and that and will be handled online going forward. And in a way, this is really only the beginning. So there have been some mergers. You know, people have started companies, and some have been successful, some have gone already. And I don't see necessarily any mergers or many mergers. There may be some, but I don't personally see any. I think that it's really coming down to a few players staying in the market and really, you know, taking the market on, and as well as the you know, some of the big old traditional players, you know, taking on some market share. I think, you know, when looking at the galleries, you know, the way galleries operate in today's market, I see many opportunities, but also some challenges. To run a gallery, you know, today can be quite challenging, you know, because, you know, if you have a gallery, you need gallery space, and, you know, if you're in one of the big cities, you know that can be expensive. If you want to be in, you know, in the sort of a prime location where you're found and where you get the right attention. Besides that, you know, galleries, you know, are forced to sell at high cost through auction houses, and, you know, and on top of that, you know, they need to reach out of their client base by going to many different art fairs, and that's very, 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 very expensive. So running a gallery business today is very expensive, and you know, and some of the smaller galleries, particularly if you don't have the top artists, and, you know, and you want to have a young artist program, and, you know, and discover new artists, it can be really, really, really very difficult and expensive. And, many of these galleries, they start and then they disappear again. So I think we will see a lot of, maybe a lot of change in that area. And I think online can be a solution, because it's so efficient. You reach such a broad audience, at low cost, and it's so fast.
Yeah.
So all these galleries, they should have online strategies, and companies like ARTNET and maybe even Artsy, they provide a good platform for these galleries.
Yeah. So in your job, what drives you? Why do you do what you do here? Have you thought about that?
Oh yeah, of course I think about that. I've been doing it for quite some time, and I really love what I'm doing. Mainly because of my team. I think I have a fantastic team, and it's such a joy, working with so many talented people, and being able to. To work with them and to lead this company, with this fantastic group of people. Yeah. I think that's one of the main drivers for me. The other thing that I would like to mention is that, the nature of the business is really what fascinates me. We're not really we're an established company. We've been around for many years, and we're profitable, and everyone knows us. But at the same time, we are really at the core, a startup. We reinvent ourselves all the time, and ARTNET News is a very young business. And when we launched that business, no one knew where it would end, and was. Looking at it from outside, at first it was only a huge risk, associated with high cost, and no safe return. But then it turned out to be quite successful, and and then the transaction side of the business is, it's still very early in the market, even though we've been doing it for quite some time. But the market embraces it slowly, and it's only at the beginning. So it's really a great opportunity, and I love to be part of a company that really can drive the way a market works, and change the way it works.
Yeah, it's a very poignant observation that to keep the startup mentality and culture going. I mean, that's probably the best rule for survival in this type of business.
Absolutely, absolutely necessary.
It's very interesting. So where is your personal taste in art? What do you like? What do you look for? What are you inspired by?
I'm across categories and different times. I'm fascinated by many different artists, and so it's really difficult to pinpoint anything. I like many different things. And
here we have some art on the walls. Any particular stories behind those?
Yeah, this is Billy Al Bankston. Billy Al Bankston is an artist from the West Coast, same generation as Ed Rocher, for example, and some of the artists from the West Coast from that time. And he most recently has become even more popular. He has done a collaboration with Yves Saint Laurent, or when Hedi Slimane was creative director of Yves Saint Laurent, the fashion designer. Mm-hmm. And he was inspired by Billy Al Bankston, and one of his collections was all inspired by Billy Al Bankston, and since then, he had a number of big exhibitions again, and it's becoming more and more popular, and I really like him very much. But across times and categories, I'm fascinating by many artists, and one of my all-time favorites, I would say, is Matisse, of course. Yeah. So, but too expensive.
That's number one.
the stuff I really like, I can't afford.
No,
so.
You just have to wait. It'll come to you. And the sculpture we are admiring here, is that?
Yeah, also West Coast artist called Robert Graham. Fortunately he passed away a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. But he's famous for these sculptures, and He lately also had a big exhibition at David Zwirner. That's some 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
And you actually, when you walk through the office, you see quite a lot of Robert Graham.
I see. That's one of your favorites.
Yes.
Yes.
And he's an artist, very, very close friend of my father's, and my father has exhibited him for many years.
I see.
And is still the biggest collector, probably.
And that one?
This is John Wesley. It's called Night Landing, and it's an airplane at night.
Very cool. Describing art through a podcast. That's challenging, but the listeners,
we can show some photos.
Yeah, we should
at some point.
But there will be a photo of you for sure. We'll get a nice one.
Oh, that's most important.
Yeah, that's most important. So, this is wonderful. This is a fascinating story about how a company called ARTNET has played such an incredible role in the art market, integrating the old traditional players, the brick and mortar, and really is a powerhouse in terms of information, news, and auction. It's truly a fascinating story, I have to say.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jacob, for taking your time. We truly appreciate it very, very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is Art Insiders New York. My name is Anders Holst. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode of the Art Insiders New York podcast, head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. Thank you. This episode was produced by UOM LLC, copyright 2019.